Hey guys, so I'm finally back with another book review video. Today I'm going to be reviewing Cassandra Clare's City of Bones. This is the first book of the Mortal Instruments series. I think initially it was supposed to be a trilogy because the back of the book says don't miss the other books in the Mortal Instruments trilogy, and I guess it was really popular and she came out with a couple more. But I'm going to do a separate video for each one because they are kind of long books and a lot happens, so I don't want to put it all together in one super massive long video. So this video is dedicated just for the City of Bones. One of the reasons why I had kind of low expectations for this book is because the protagonist is Clary Frey. She's only 15 years old. And it starts off with her and her friend Simon going to a club in New York City. So I just thought, how could this be a fantasy book if it takes place in New York at a club? But, you know, the first few pages were a little bit slow, but then, while Clary and Simon were at the club, Clary was able to see people and things that Simon, her friend, wasn't able to see. So we knew right off that something was special about her. Pretty early on in the book, you learn about Clary's type of personality, that she is a caring, a genuinely good person, and she's curious and kind of reckless. She sees Jason Alec with knives following this boy that's following Isabel into the storage room, and she wants to protect this guy. And you find out that, you know, he's not a regular person, he's a demon, and he was the bad guy. But she didn't know that at the time, and she risked her own safety to try to save this person. So that's Clary. So another character is Simon. He is Clary's best friend. They've known each other since they were really young children, and Simon has a lot of strong feelings for Clary. He is willing to do just about anything for her, and you find out a little more about him in the later books, but he does play a big role. I feel kind of bad for him because he is a mortal boy and he doesn't quite fit in with the shadow hunters and demons and warlocks and all of that. And then there's Jace. In the book, Jace is described as this really good-looking guy. He's just a little older than Clary, I think by a year or two. He's definitely not 18. He's blonde hair, I think blue eyes, no, golden eyes. So Clary is really attracted to him kind of immediately, and he has this really arrogant, cocky personality, which I really like that in a book. Like, I wouldn't want to be around someone like Jace in real life, but in a book, it's kind of nice to read about a character like that. He actually reminds me a lot of Patch from the Hush Hush books. And there's Isabel. She is the sister of Jace and Alec. She is a shadow hunter as well. And I really like Isabel. She's really a really strong young lady. She's also a teenager. And she's a very strong personality. She fights really well. It's usually Isabel and Jace that are taking out the demons and warlocks, and Alec is kind of the one looking out for them. So she's definitely a tough girl. And then there's Alec. Alec is the oldest among the Shadowhunter children. I think he's 18 either in this book or in the next one, but he is officially an adult, so he gets to go to the meetings with his parents, other members of the Clave. And then there's Magnus, who is this old warlock. He doesn't look old, but he's old. And he's responsible for what happens to Clary, why she can't remember things, why she can't see things. And the Shadowhunters wouldn't have been able to accomplish a lot of things without the help of Magnus. And lucky for the Shadowhunters, he's on their side. He has a thing for Alec. They're both gay, so they have an instant attraction, or at least Magnus showed an attraction to Alec immediately. And then there's Hodge. He is their mentor at the institute that Jace and Alec and Isabel stay at. He was a member of the Circle. He worked with Valentine at one point, and then he is basically, he's banished, and he has to stay in the institute. And there's Luke. He is the father figure to Clary. He's always been there for her, to take care of her. He was there since she was a small child, and In the beginning, when his character is introduced, I really didn't like Luke. He was telling Clary to stay with her friend and don't come back, don't call him, and all of that. So immediately I didn't like him, but then later you find out why he treated her this way. It was to protect her. And he's actually a leader of the werewolf pack. Luke proves to be a great leader. He's kind of like the glue that keeps everyone together when they're at each other's throats, and he just kind of takes charge, and he takes care of everyone emotionally too. So he's definitely like a father, and he is a great leader. That's my brief synopsis of all the main characters. There are quite a few other characters, but I just thought I would talk about the main ones for this book. First part of the book was kind of a snooze for me because I don't want to read about clubs and what happens in a city because I live in a city. I wanted to read something that's like supernatural and in a fantasy world. So after all of that happens, when Clary meets Jace again, that is when things kind of pick up for me. It was the attraction between the characters that really drew me in. I really like Jace's personality. He's so cocky, and I could see why Simon wouldn't get along with him. First of all, they both like Clary. They both have feelings for her, and I thought it was kind of funny. It was humorous the way that Jace and Simon were bickering at each other and just kind of throwing jabs at one another. But Jace takes Clary back to the Institute, introduces her to other shadow hunters such as his brother and sister Alec and Isabel and Hodge, who runs the place, and he introduces Clary to shadow hunters and their world. Basically, shadow hunters are a race of warriors. And their job is to fight demons and warlocks and to keep the downworlders in line. They would have to kill them if they killed other shadow hunters or people. And downworlders are, they're part human, but they're like vampires and werewolves. Shadow hunters don't have any special powers. They just have their runes and their weapons to kind of help them heal. They have their witch light, and they have a lot of tools and gadgets, but they don't have super speed or super strength like downworlders do. So Clary goes to the Silent City where she meets the Silent Brothers, and they kind of do an assessment on her head and her brain and find out why she wasn't able to see through the glamours before, why there's like a mental block in her head, and they find out that the warlock Magnus Bane was behind it. He had his signature in her mind. Then Simon drinks a potion thinking it was safe, and he turns into a rat. And a big portion of this book was about Clary chasing after Rat Simon. The vampires took him, and she just had to get him back, and Jace went along because he wanted to keep Clary safe. Again, Clary is a very courageous person. She's a good friend to Simon. She's willing to risk her own safety, her own life, to protect someone else's. Clary's biggest challenge is to find her mother in this book. She doesn't know what happened to her mother. She got kidnapped right as she was on the phone with Clary saying, I love you. And I thought the ultimate evil character in this book is Valentine, and what he wanted with Clary's mother is the mortal cup. He knew that she knew where it was, and so he kidnapped her and tried to get it out of her. Without giving too many spoilers away, I'm not going to say how they found the cup. If you've read the book, you would know. But I am going to say that it was very cleverly hidden. It was definitely a big risk, the way it was hidden. Clary might have never figured it out. So definitely it was really, really clever. And in reality, I don't know if anyone could have really figured that out. As the book progresses, Clary is falling for Jace, and as a reader, you just kind of fall with her. I love characters like Jace because he is cocky and irritating, but you soon realize that under that hard facade, he is a genuinely good person, and his cocky personality is just his defense mechanism. There's a lot of conflict within himself, and so the more that Clary gets to know who he is, you as a reader sympathize with him. So yeah, as I was reading this book, I was falling for Jace just like Clary, and then it comes to a grinding halt. I cannot believe Cassandra Clare would do this to us. I mean, doesn't she know that how many hearts would be broken when we found out that Jace and Clary were brother and sister? It's so wrong. So wrong. And it's torment for the characters. I mean, they can't be together in the way they want to, so it's almost better for them to not even see each other. And it was very disturbing because, you know, they still love each other. It's not like they grew up with each other and had that brother-sister connection. So I think they still wanted to make it work as boyfriend and girlfriend. So, you know, part of it's conflicting for the reader as well. It's like you want things to work out for them, but at the same time, this kind of relationship just, it's too strange. It just shouldn't happen. So it's just, in my head, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what could they do to make this better? How can they fix this? I was just thinking to myself, like, I almost wanted to write a letter to the author, like, why? You had a great thing going here, and then you pull this. I was not happy. I almost didn't want to continue reading on to the next one, the second book. But I'm glad I did continue because it's great. I have to say there isn't a whole lot of depth in these books, but it's a great read. The characters develop wonderfully. There is depth to the characters. It's just that this is a young adult book. It's a fantasy book. It's usually there isn't a whole lot of depth in this genre. So it's great. A lot of meaning and very profound for what it is. After reading it, I turn off the lights, I go to bed, and I'm still thinking about the events and the characters in the book. So it's great. I kind of wish that the book was written in first person through the perspective of Clary. I'm not too fond of this narrative voice that's not a character in the book and they're just kind of announcing what's going on. So, I mean, it's still great. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful. I'm just saying it would have been like over the top best book ever if it could have been written in first person. And you do hear the characters' thoughts. It's written in italics every now and then, but that's rare. It's not the same as actually being in their head and feeling what they're feeling. When Clary falls for Jace, I'd rather feel that as well and not just be told that she's developing feelings for him or be told that she was scared for her life at this point, because there's so much action in this book that I feel like I would have been like way more frantic and just totally even more into it if I could just be in her head. But with that said, this is a really, really, really good book. I cannot even stress how much I enjoyed this book. And even though it's a long book, it's about 500 pages long, it's a quick read. The text isn't huge. It's like that. I don't know. It just goes by so fast. I mean, normally it's like I'm sitting there after 10 minutes, I've read like 8 or 9 pages, but in 10 minutes I'd read like 20 pages because, again, the text is kind of big and it moves along so quickly. There's a lot of dialogue and not a lot of narrating, so it goes really fast. And it's fast-paced. It's definitely a good page turner. So if you have the time, definitely check it out. You can find it used at a decent price. You know, I found mine for $1. You can go on Amazon and buy it used for a couple dollars, and it's actually on sale right now, even for a new copy for like $8 as opposed to $10. So it's definitely worth the money. It's definitely worth the time. I must warn you though, for some reason on Amazon, there are a lot of negative ratings for this book. I don't know why. A lot of people are saying it's all been done before. It's not unique, that these characters are like Twilight characters and Harry Potter. I've never read Twilight or watched the movie, but I have read and watched Harry Potter, and let me tell you, it's not the same. They're not the same characters at all. And Cassandra Clare has creatively brought all these different mystical type of creatures and beings into one story, and she did it so well. It's not easy to include vampires, fairies, and werewolves and shadow hunters. I mean, it's not easy to just incorporate them all into one storyline. So I think she did a great job. I think it's very unique, and check it out for yourself. And if you've read it, let me know what you think in the comments below. And I will be back soon with a review on City of Ashes. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.